We begin this hour in Wisconsin, where we are bringing you the sentencing hearing for an 18-year-old who, listen to this, stabbed a family's pet Chihuahua. Kielee Sonnemann, who was babysitting the family's 4-year-old daughter at the time, pleaded guilty yesterday to stabbing their pet Chihuahua with a pair of scissors and then putting a bag over his head. The dog, named Batman, was found the next day in the middle child's bedroom, hidden under a pile of bloody blankets. This is a hard one, but before we take you into court, let's bring in Court TV affiliate WTMJ with more on the case against Kielee Sonnemann.
18-year-old Kielee Sonnemann walked into Waukesha County Court in handcuffs. The high school senior is accused of killing this 8-year-old Chihuahua named Batman. Waukesha County investigators say a Sussex family asked Sonnemann to babysit one of their children. When the family came home, Batman was nowhere to be found. The next day, the parents say they found his body covered in blankets in their 11-year-old daughter's room with blood all over the place.
They believe their babysitter murdered their dog. They found it in a room hidden with blood everywhere.
The Waukesha County Sheriff's Office says deputies found the dog with what appeared to be a stab wound and a plastic bag over his head.
There's at least some suggestion that this was a crime of violence perpetrated in the presence of a 4-year-old child. The crime itself is very disturbing.
A criminal complaint states Sonnemann claimed that the dog was biting her and that she does not remember doing anything to him. Investigators say she used scissors to commit the violence and hid them in the family's home.
We understand that these are serious allegations, but at the end of the day, this is a Class I felony, lowest level felony, obviously, and Ms. Sonnemann is 18 years old with no prior criminal history.
Sonnemann didn't say anything to the court during her initial appearance. Batman's family described him as lovable and protective of their 4-year-old child.
Let's go into court now for the very start of Sonnemann's sentencing hearing, starting with the state's opening argument.
Judge, this is a case back from January 25th of 2024. The victim's family was going that night to attend a wrestling match at their oldest son's school and had the defendant come over to babysit their youngest daughter, who was 4 at the time. The victims and the defendant knew each other fairly well. She had babysat for them before. They also have an 11-year-old daughter who was not home that night, and she was staying at a grandparent's home. The defendant came over around 5:30 to babysit, and the victims were back home around 9:15. At that time, victim B went to let Batman out, and she realized that he was not coming when she called him. They began to look around the house for the dog. The defendant helped her at times, searching and calling. And at some point, the defendant left to go home, and the victim still could not find Batman that night. The next day, the victims continued to look for Batman. They did report him as a missing dog in the morning hours. And then specifically, victim B was driving around and making some social media posts to see if they could find assistance to find the dog, which at that time they believed was missing. They did have cameras in the home, and they were able to see Batman last on the camera probably around 6:45 p.m. They noted that their 4-year-old daughter and the defendant were the only ones in the home at that time. The next day, their daughter, who was 11, came home from spending time at her grandparents' house. She did go into her bedroom, and at that point, she found the dog, which was concealed under some blankets and pillows and stuffed animals, and she began to scream. Looking at the photos from that area of the residence where the dog was located in the 11-year-old's room, there were blood stains on many of the items in that area, including stuffed animals, a box, blankets, a small little girl's suitcase, a water bottle, and the wall. This was a small dog, Judge. It was a black Chihuahua. Looking at the necropsy that we had done, it was approximately 8 pounds. The dog was located with a plastic grocery bag tied around its head that also had blood on it, and it had visible wounds that were bloody as well. There was a pair of scissors located by the detective in the same room the dog was located that were concealed in a drawer. Detectives did go to the defendant's home to investigate what happened. She did give some statements, but really, at the end of the day, stated she did not have a recollection of what occurred. Another incident that was concerning that happened while she was babysitting the 4-year-old is that the 4-year-old's hair was also cut. Victim B did not notice that right away when she got home that night. The little girl had her hair up, but she did notice it later. The state did have a necropsy performed by the Wisconsin Veterinary Diagnostic Lab that's part of UW-Madison. And this is some additional information that was not in the original complaint. That report indicated that Batman had 5 penetrating wounds into his thoracic cavity. Dr. Poley, who did the necropsy examination, gave the opinion that the cause of death in this case was multiple penetrating wounds that extended through the wall of the chest and into the thoracic cavity. At least 2 of the wounds penetrated through both thoracic cavity and the diaphragm, essentially puncturing the lungs and causing an inability for Batman to breathe. Given that there was a plastic bag on the Batman's head, I did inquire of the doctor if Batman had been strangled. She indicated that there was nothing to suggest that the dog had been asphyxiated. It appears that the bag was placed on after the dog was stabbed. Some additional information, Judge. The state's not aware of any prior criminal record for the defendant. We did get in the defense pre-sentence report, as well as the NGI report that was done by Dr. Collins in this case, some of the mental health history and background. In the report, specifically the NGI report, the defendant maintains she does not remember the incident. One of the reasons why Dr. Collins did not support an NGI was that she felt that there were incidents of deception or concealment that were involved in this. And I think that's obvious from the way the dog was covered, the way she went around the home looking for the dog after she theoretically knew what had happened and where he was. So, Judge, the state is making a prison recommendation in this case. In addition to this just being a horrific incident, I agree with Dr. Collins' assessment that there were deceptive things that occurred and the defendant trying to hide what she did. I think there are elements of the crime which indicate to me that the defendant needs to be in a confined setting to address the criminal behavior and the treatment needs. That's all I have, Judge.
My name is Shelley Ciardo. Your Honor, I write this here to hear my plea to get justice for Batman. Kielee Sonnemann took his life on January 25th, 2024. The pain inflicted on Batman and my family is just unbearable. These have been the worst few months I have had to endure. Not having him here with me is having my heart shattered every day. Knowing what she did to him makes this pain and sorrow even worse. My poor baby suffered by being stabbed multiple times, having a bag put over his head, and bleeding onto my daughter's floor. From finding blood on the walls, the vent, and water bottles with blood on the outside are things I will never be able to erase from my memory. Having my now 12-year-old daughter find his little feet under her stuffed animals and blankets. All I can do when she found him was fall to the floor, scream, and cry. My 12-year-old daughter ran to me and apologized how she found him that way. From that trauma alone is a feat no mother should have to deal with. The guilt of having your daughter find you that way is beyond horrible. Having to know my husband has to keep his composure when knowing deep down he wanted to lose control but had to be strong for the children and myself tears me apart even more. My son being the one to have to call 911 and grab Batman's special blanket and see what was done has broken my heart. Batman was my emotional support animal. He comforted me when I was at my worst. Somehow he knew when I was upset and just came and laid on me and kissed my face. I never had to worry where he was because he was always right by my side. I miss him more than words can explain. Now all I have are pictures and a nose print of my sweet boy, and hopefully the ashes and a paw print soon. Every night, all I get to do now is look at a picture and say goodnight to it. That is just not fair, being taken from this world in such a cruel manner. He was a poor, defenseless dog. He never deserved to die. He had many years ahead of him, and I had many more with him by my side. I cannot stand the thought of him sitting in a freezer. That's just not fair right now. He should be here with me, cuddling under a blanket. I have been having memories popping up on my phone, pictures and videos. Every time I see them, the pain and agony starts all over again. When we come to court, it starts from square one again. Not only did Kielee take my dog away from me, she took my livelihood. I could not handle the pain of working with anyone in her family, as one of them was a coworker of mine. It was a daily reminder of what Kielee had done. I was having anxiety attacks almost daily, missing work, so finally a decision was made for my mental sake to leave. I was calling and texting my therapist almost daily, trying to come up with some way to wrap my mind around that he's gone. He was ripped from me. To this day, I still have no understanding of what could bring someone to do such a heinous act to my small Batman. This was a pure evil act. My now 5-year-old daughter will see pictures of Batman and ask where he is. Tell me he is her best friend, asking if the police are still looking for him. I have no answers for this question. All I have are tears to be shed. The night before Batman had been found in my daughter's room, I had come home, went to let him out, and found him not coming to me, which was strange as he would come running to me when I walked in the door. I began searching all for the house for him. Kielee even helped me search for him that night. I called my husband crying that he was missing. He said Batman couldn't have gone far. He is such a tiny dog. When he came home, we searched the neighborhood for about an hour walking, yelling his name. I did not sleep that night. My mind wandered as to where Batman could be. I went upstairs as my daughter was sleeping and looked under her bed again, my 5-year-old. Just crying, posting on social media, doing everything I could to help him come back. The morning he was found, I had called the non-emergency to report him missing in hopes he would turn up somewhere and someone would find him. Little did I know he was right here in the house the whole time. Please, Your Honor, I beg of you to give the maximum punishment. He was my first dog of my own. He was my little sidekick, and he was taken from my heart. My family now feels unsafe in our home. We have had to take extra security measures in our old home. I had put up security cameras all around the house, changed the locks on all the doors, and even put up window alarms. And with that, it still did not put me at ease. We even had to go to the lengths of switching our daughter's rooms, painting the walls, as our 12-year-old would not sleep in that room anymore or even go in there. Our lives have been forever altered. I am always on edge in my own home. That is a feeling no one should ever have to feel. We have now moved into a new home to get a fresh start for the entire family. I still have these extra security measures set up in this home. Even with the fresh start, I will forever hold on to the thought of him just lying there alone. Thank you.
It's hard to imagine losing anyone's emotional support animal, but much less when they have kids in the home bonded to this poor little dog. Really an awful set of circumstances. Coming up next, this is the sentencing hearing. Court has to hear all this to make a decision, so we'll hear a statement from the then 11-year-old who found Batman dead in her room. That plus more victim impact statements after the break.
Coming soon to Court TV.
It's the biggest story that we're covering.
He is the boogeyman.
Lori Daybell.
She said, I will have you destroyed.
She's got another murder trial coming up.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
We will not stop fighting. We have no quit.
Sean Diddy Combs arrested on a federal indictment.
The high-stakes trials you don't want to miss. Coming soon. Only on Court TV.
Back now to Wisconsin, where we are bringing you the sentencing hearing for a high school senior who pled guilty yesterday to stabbing a family's pet Chihuahua. On January 25th, 18-year-old Kielee Sonnemann was babysitting a family friend's 4-year-old daughter when the family returned home and noticed that their beloved dog Batman was missing. Now, the next day, They discovered Batman dead in their 12-year-old child's bedroom underneath a pile of bloody blankets. And they also noticed that their then 4-year-old daughter's hair had been cut. Kind of bizarre. We want to get you back into court now for more of the victim impact statements. Up first, the then 11-year-old who discovered her dog in her bedroom.
Hi, I'm Christine Cole, grandmother of victim D.
Hello, whenever you're ready, Miss Cole.
Okay. This is victim D's letter that I'm reading. It says, "Dear Judge, this whole situation has affected my mental state. From seeing Batman to knowing who killed him, my brain sends an image of what she could have done to him every time I close my eyes. Every time someone talks about dogs, I get the image in my head, causing me to feel anger and sadness. And it doesn't help that the person who was only supposed to take care of us, someone I trusted, someone I knew, did that to my poor dog. She took away a family member. My brother and I have had Batman since we were little. She had no right to take his life right then and there when he had plenty of years to go. Joker, our other dog, lost his best friend. He started to look for him, but never could find him. The fact that she did that in my room has caused me to switch rooms. I can't even go in there without getting shaky, angry, or sad." With all this said, she should be held responsible for what she did. She makes me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. No one should ever have to experience getting a family member taken from them. Sincerely, victim D, hoping for justice.
Victim witness on behalf of Chris Lassica, another grandmother.
Good morning, Miss Dunn, whenever you're ready. Good afternoon.
My name is Chris Lassica. I am Shelley's mother. I have known Batman since he became part of the family. I drove Shelley to pick him up. I saw a little black puppy with big ears and mentioned that he looked like a bat, and that's how he became Batman. I loved that little pupper. Batman was little, but he brought big amounts of love, support, smiles, chuckles, etc. When I learned of Batman's death, I couldn't breathe and couldn't stop crying. How could someone stab and kill sweet, innocent little Batman? I will never understand how someone can be so evil and vicious. I ask that you sentence Kielee Sonnemann to the maximum sentence allowed. She needs time to think about the physical pain she caused Batman by stabbing him and gruesomely taking his life, and how her actions have emotionally, physically, and financially affected my family. This has been pure hell.
Your Honor, today I'm here to ask for the greatest punishment the court sees fit for what Kielee Sonnemann has done to not only me, but my family. Being one of the first to look at what had actually happened to my dog Batman is an image that will be forever ingrained in my head. I've closed my eyes and I see the blood. I see the plastic bag wrapped around his head, his lifeless body on the floor. And all I could think was there's nothing I could do to help him. Hearing the screams ring out through my house from my wife and my oldest daughter, and all I could do was then ask my son to get his blanket so I could gently place it over his body and tell him I'm sorry and that he was a good boy. Having to hold everybody together in my family has really taken a toll on me. I'm a very private person. I have a hard time expressing my emotions. I hold everything inside, and I'm not able to talk about the wrong that has been done to my family. Batman was more than just a dog. He was a member of the family, from just a puppy that could fit in the palm of your hand, and watching him grow up into what we called the boss dog. We'd go on family trips with other members that had animals, and he'd climb onto the back of the couch, and he would bark at the other dogs to tell them to stop roughhousing, and they'd actually listen. He was brutally taken from us at the hands of this individual. I have lost total trust in people. I'm afraid to leave my children home alone with strangers that I don't know. This has been kind of a strain to make relationships so me and my wife can actually go out and have date nights, but that's neither here nor there. I had put my trust in Kielee. She had proved that it was a poor choice on my part. I have known her since I was a child. I grew up across the street from the Sonnemanns from a young age. From what I saw growing up, she actually had a privileged life. 2 parents that loved her very dearly. She had brothers and a sister that actually cared for her as well, which makes me wonder what someone could truly think of to want to do these things. That day, when we found Batman, I had reached out to her mother to get answers as to why Batman was dead, buried under stuffed animals and blankets with a bag on his head, and was quickly dismissed, and she seemed to be unfazed. I had handled all the investigation, speaking to everybody. I could not let my family see what had been witnessed, and to have them know of what I perceived to be a true horror, when there was many other options that could have been done or taken. She could have put Batman in his kennel, put him in the kitchen, which was blocked off by baby gates, which were a lot closer than the bedroom we had found him in, or even call my wife to come back home early if he was truly being bad. The fact that she was able to do this to Batman and go right back to watching our daughter makes me wonder what could have truly been done to our now 5-year-old given enough time. She even cut inches off her hair with the scissors that killed Batman in the same night in her fit of rage of being blackout. She had just turned 18, and this is the first act that she had committed as being an adult. Just brings sadness to me. Thank you.
Let me bring in trial attorney Michael Jaffer, trial attorney Rob Corbett. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. And listen, in my opinion, it takes a certain kind of person that will hurt and kill an animal, especially in the way it was done, with scissors found with a plastic garbage bag over this little bitty dog's head. And I want to start with, you know what, this father just saying it changed everything. We can't leave the children alone. I don't blame him. After something like this, I would be so forever emotionally scarred, Rob, that I too would not want to leave my children alone with some sitter.
No, I completely agree. When I first heard about the case, and I have to be honest, that I initially thought, based on her record, based on her age, based on it being the lowest felony, I didn't think that a judge would possibly give her an active sentence. But once you hear more of the details, and not to use the word lightly, but how the sinister details that you hear about in terms of how she went into it, the injuries that Batman sustained, the family pet sustained, and how the youngest daughter's hair was cut as well, that does lead you to think that something more could have taken place if they had not returned when they did.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of bizarre. We know there were 5 wounds to the dogs. The cause of death were the multiple penetrating wounds, specifically to the lungs. We know that the potential sentence is up to 5.5 years. She is 18. This is the first crime, at least that, recorded on her criminal record. Michael, what do you think?
I think unless she has family that come in and testify or make a statement, friends, family, make a statement to the effect that she's not, a monster, she is a good person, she could be rehabilitated, I think the judge will go high. It is a class high felony, obviously, because she used a dangerous weapon, that there are the enhancers. I feel like there's a lot to be still done and seen in this sentencing. I really want to see from the family, and we'll see what the family does. I think the judge will come closer to the 1-year mark on this because of the fact that she has no prior record. But honestly, Judge Ashley, this whole thing is so bizarre. Mm-hmm. It's so weird. It's so grotesque. I think this is the first time I've ever witnessed a sentencing for somebody violating animal cruelty laws, and for her to use a scissor and stab it's a Chihuahua. I mean, the whole thing is just icky, and I don't know. It's up for grabs. I think it'll be closer to the 1 year.
I agree with everything you just said. It really is. And I, too, haven't seen a sentencing like this. And the mother just testified the pain inflicted is unbearable. Knowing what she did to him makes it even worse.